The Model Shop live scale modeling show is brought to you by Tenna Controls, makers of lighting kits, soundboards, and more. Tenna Controls brings your models to life. Well, hello there again, everybody. Boyd here with you, and welcome to episode 82, I believe we're up to now, of the Model Shop live scale modeling show. Having some fun here tonight in the shop with our live audience. Got a nice little show in store for you guys tonight. We're going to do our out-of-the-box kit review a little bit here in a few minutes of our Revell 148 scale P38 that we talked about last week. And we've got a couple more things related to airplanes. I got a little product that I got in for airplane modeling here that I wanted to show you guys really quick when we get to that. And we've also got part 4 of our Creating the Enterprise interview with the guys from Star Trek The Motion Picture. We're moving right along on that. Some more interesting talk coming up tonight on the 4th segment. They get into some of the details about some of the special effects that they created during the film. Really interesting stuff. And we've got a brand new slideshow tonight from our members from our Google community, the Model Shop Google community. Some more fantastic work going on out there. We really appreciate you guys sending those in to us, and we'll have that for you in a little bit here. And before we get going any further, I want to say a quick shout out to, I believe this is DeWitt Shane Line. Now, DeWitt sent me this really nice 50th anniversary Star Trek stamp set from Canada. These are actually official Canada stamps. I'm assuming it was DeWitt that sent them, because I know DeWitt lives in Canada. There wasn't a name on the return address on the package that it came in, but DeWitt, if it was you, I really appreciate that, buddy. Coming from a Star Trek fan, that's just an awesome gift, and I'll definitely cherish that and put it in a nice little frame and hang it up. So that was really cool. And I wanted to make a correction too. A couple of weeks ago, you can see our B-24 kit that we have in the background, the Revell. I mentioned that it was Scott Lucci who sent that to me, but it was actually Dadnator 24. I think Scott just shipped it for him. DeWitt sent me a little note through the email and said that he saw something in the chat session from a week ago about Dadnator had sent that. So thanks, Rick. That's the second kit you sent us. You sent us the AirWolf a while back, and we had a lot of fun building that one, and we'll definitely have some fun here building up that B-25. I'm going to be starting to work on that here in the next couple of weeks. I'm kind of in a plane kick. I've got another little plane kit that came in this week. I talked about it a little bit. We kind of gave it away. The cat kind of got out of the bag, but this is the Williams Brothers 153 scale Lockheed 10 Electra, which you can see on the cover here is Amelia Earhart's plane, and we're going to be doing a nice build-up of this one. This is a really nice little kit. We'll have an out-of-the-box kit review on that next week, and then we'll have some fun building that one. That's I've never heard of Williams Brothers before. When I was looking around on eBay for a kit, I came across that one and got it for a good price, so we should have some fun with that. I was able to do a little bit of work on finishing up on the Saturn 1B rocket. I'll show you that, just a quick little segment on that tonight. Didn't get a lot done on my regular projects here. You can see in the background I'm knee-deep in Enterprise as I'm catching up on all my client builds. I've got 5 of them going on right now on the 1/350 scale. And I'm actually going to show you a little bit of the progress on that too. I've done a couple of these that the clients had special requests on. We're kind of doing some unique stuff on these, and I wanted to share that with you too. So we'll have a look at those in just a little bit. Time to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and do our out-of-the-box kit review of the P38. So we'll see you with that in just a few seconds, everybody. Hang tight. Well, here we go, everybody, with another out-of-the-box kit review for you. This is another airplane kit that we're going to be working on. This is the Revell 148 scale P-38J Lightning. This is actually a replica of Richard Bong's famous World War II P-38 that he flew in the Pacific Theater. Richard Bong was America's highest scoring ace in the war, and his plane was named Marge after his, I don't know if it was his wife or his girlfriend at the time, but beautiful aircraft. We're going to do this one up in the nice shiny silver paint scheme that you see here. You know, it's we're going to use some more of our duplicolor chrome on this, so this should turn out pretty nice. It's a really nice kit in the same scale as the bombers that we've been working on. You can see you can build a couple of different versions here. You get the parts to build a night fighter version if you want to, in all black, which would look pretty cool. But we're going to do Richard Bong's plane here as we see on the cover. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. This is another nice Revell kit. I'm really liking these Revell planes. We're going to go ahead and take everything out of the box here and show it to you. We've got just basically one big bag of parts here and a couple smaller ones with some detail parts, but we'll start off with the big bag. You can see the parts are molded in a, sort of a dull silver, which is not a big deal, but we're going to be priming over it and everything and getting it all worked out. You can see we've got the main wing here, which is all in one piece. I was kind of wondering if they were going to have separate wing attachments on this, but this is a twin boom aircraft, which means we have two tail sections, two sort of semi-fuselages that go to the rear. And so we have the main wing assembly here all in one piece. Now, looking at it up close, you can see that there's some nice detail on it. All the riveting is on here, all the paneling for the various flight surfaces and everything. The caps for the fuel tanks are all on here. And the detail looks to be pretty good. A little bit of swirling in the color, but nothing really bad at all as far as the plastic itself. It looks pretty good. And we have this second rack here, which is... we have some weapons here. We have drop tanks that are molded in two halves here. We have a couple of rockets. I think they called those HVARs at the time. They were either artillery or armor piercing. They had two different types. Here we have some of the cockpit detail here. Looks like the seat for the cockpit, the sides of the cockpit interior with a little bit of detail on there. There's a little bit of conduiting and wiring and stuff like that if you can see it up close. A couple of the flight controls, the throttle looks like, and maybe the propeller pitch adjustment. Couple different, you have a couple options here as far as the nose. Now, we're going to be building this up with the 50 caliber machine guns that we had in the front, and that was one of the things that was so devastating about the P-38. You had all the machine guns, all 5 of them. Might have been a 20 millimeter cannon in the center. I'm not sure. We're going to have to read up about that, but I know it had at least 4 or possibly 5 50 caliber machine guns, all concentrated in a really small area in the nose of the airplane, instead of being spread out, on the wings and like a normal fighter plane. And so that gave it a tremendous amount of firepower, all concentrated into a single area. So if you got hits on something, you're pretty much going to rip it apart. And Richard Bong actually, I read his book years and years ago. His favorite tactic was to actually come at the Japanese fighter planes head on, because he felt like his best chance of getting a kill shot was to shoot the front part of the airplane, and he was really confident in the forward firepower that we had, or that they had on the P-38, and that was how he got most of his air-to-air victories. You can see here we have the one half of the twin booms here. We have an engine on each side. We have a tail on each side, which gives the P-38 its really unique look. The Japanese used to refer to the plane as the fork-tailed devil or whistling death. Maybe it was whistling death for the Corsair, but it was definitely called the fork-tailed devil, and for good reason. It was a really deadly airplane in the hands of a good pilot. You can see we've got the vertical stabilizer here. This is all molded in one piece, which is kind of nice. Usually that's broken down in 2 halves. We have the engine cowlings here up front, which is nice. They're all molded in one piece. Just some small little detail parts here. Looks like we have a hinge of some type for something that can open and close. your couple of your instrument sensing apparatus here on the for the external part of the plane. The could be the pitot tube or one of those things. We'll find out a little bit more about that when we start looking at the instructions. Here's the other half of the twin booms, and these are, you know, molded in halves, but they have the same. If I get them up close here for you, they have the same nice rivet detail and everything. So the detail should show up really nice once we paint this model. And just a couple small little parts here. Looks like it could be part of the landing gear assembly or something like that. Here's some inserts for the engine cowls for the air intakes. This rack here, we have more of the engine detail here. We have two different types of pilots. I have to see which one we want to use there. Here's the forward landing gear. Couple of parts for the engines here. We have the forward landing gear bay doors that can open up, one of the propellers. And the second propeller here, and we have some more forward detail. Part of the landing gear doors again. Here are the two engine pod landing gear, the main landing gear. The other one I showed you, I believe, was the nose wheel. And here we have the bottom half of the forward section of the airplane with the lower half of the wing. Same nice crisp detail that you can see on that. Real nice. The riveting on this is so nice I can actually feel it really good with my thumb. So that's going to look really, really nice when we get that painted. We'll take a look at the clear parts here. I guess we can pull it out of the bag. We just want to be really careful with these clear parts. I don't like having them fall off the sprue and get lost. So far that hasn't happened to me, but we'll give you a look at these. And you can see here you've got your canopy, which this had the later model canopy, which had less of the ribbing that was on there for better visibility for the pilot inside. You have the side panels here, which sort of fold down and drop open. You had to basically, to bail out of the P-38, the instruction, you can look at some old instruction videos on YouTube from the Army Air Corps. You had to roll this plane upside down before you bailed out of it to be safe. Otherwise, you had a really good chance of hitting the rear vertical stabilizer. And so what they would do is they'd roll the plane upside down and flop one of these hatches open and release the top cover there, and then just let themselves fall straight down onto the bottom of the airplane if they had to get out. So it was kind of dangerous getting out of the plane, but pretty interesting. They had the old instructional videos up there still on, you could still see them on YouTube. But more parts of the canopy. Now, a couple of people have commented that the canopy doesn't fit very good on this, so I guess there's a company out there that has replacement vacuum formed versions of these, but we'll see once we get into it what we got to deal with on that. And then finally we have our final sprue here, which is some parts molded in black, and we'll go ahead and get these out for you. So here we have some details such as our main landing gear tires and wheels, nose wheel there, main landing gear tires and wheels here. Parts of these are probably 500-pound bombs that get mounted underneath of the wings if you decide you want to use them. Some interior parts here, some tail fins for the bombs. Looks like some interior parts here like the radio set or something like that for the interior of the cockpit. More interior detail there. Here's the main floor of the cockpit. You can see we have the where the flight stick goes and some other details there. Get these a little bit closer here for you. Pretty nice detail on these. Here's one of the main guns with an ammo belt that you can do some detailing on. The turbo superchargers for each engine that you see on the top of the airplane. Just some really, really small stuff there. I'm not sure what that is. Maybe a couple of gun parts or something. Some more really small detail parts here. We see 4 of the these look like 50 cal guns, and maybe that bigger one there might be a 20 millimeter. We'll check that out and see what that is. Some of you guys watching might actually know. But there you go. So nice little set of parts for this kit. Now let's take a look at the decal sheet. Should be inside here somewhere. Here we go. So we have our decal set here. So again, you can build a couple different versions of this. Nice again that they included the instrument panel with all the detail already done on that. I really like it when they do that. It saves me trying to paint that really tiny stuff. Here we see a picture of Marge herself. I don't know, like I said, if that was Richard Bong's wife at the time or just his girlfriend. But there she is, and that goes on the front part of the airplane like nose art. Or we have the bombardier. That's kind of interesting. The bombardier nose art there if you want to do that one. Got a couple different tail numbers here and a couple other things. Another one called Night Lightning, which is for the night fighter version of the airplane, done in red and white, which would look nice against that black paint job if you decided to do that. It's tempting to do the black one, but we're going to do the Richard Bong version because that's a really historical airplane. But some nice markings here. They look to be all well represented here, and they're all nice and crisp. A lot of little smaller, warning markings and things like that you can add on. Now we'll take a look at the instructions. Typical Revell here, you have your color callouts, which is always nice. You've got these off to the left here with all the different colors that you're going to use for the assembly. And then we get into the actual parts identification that you should have in the kit. Starting off here, it looks like you're building the cockpit first. And I guess you're, you got your choice of pilots there, which pilots you want to use. We're going to have to check that out, make sure we put Richard Bong in there. If we actually do the pilot, I'm kind of debating on that. We probably will. But then you're getting into the wing assembly here next. Part of the cockpit going in there once it's all done. Then the upper and lower halves of the wing assembly goes together. Then you're building the nose wheel first. And actually, nope, I'm wrong. You're building the main landing gear first and putting those in. And then you've got the landing gear doors that go on. And then you're going up front to the front nose wheel. Finishing up with putting the engine superchargers on, the engine cowling details, and then finally the spinners and the props. Putting the tailplane together with the two halves of the port and starboard booms here. Then we've got some, these might be, I'm not sure what they call these things, these air speed indicator pickups they might be that go on the tail. Your clear parts going on here, pitot tube, your landing lights going into the wings, then the canopy going together. Okay, that's where the hinge goes. The canopy's actually hinged, which is pretty cool. Side panels going on the canopy. Then you've got your guns going in. Then we have 5 guns up front, as you can see there. And then we're putting in the doors. Yeah, they actually have hinges on the doors, so you can open that forward section up and see the detail of the gun bay, which is nice, really nice. Ah, I see why they give you a second pilot here. We've got the option of instead of having the gun, you had a second crewman that would go up front in this really small little area in the nose. That's why you get an optional nose on this, with a different type of cover up front here too. You had an actual night operations guy that operated the radar and stuff like that for the night fighter version of this. So that's really, really cool. That's why you get 2 different crew figures. So then you've got the external fuel tanks, if you want to use those, or the bombs. I don't think I'm going to put those on. I'm going to keep the plane looking pretty clean, I think. So there you go, guys. It looks like you can actually, yeah, you've got some other detail here you add on for the on the fuselage, this sort of dome that goes behind the main canopy for the night fighter version as well. So some interesting options on this kit. And here you have the paint scheme on the final page here of Richard Bong's Marge P-38, which is the one we're going to be doing. You've got red wingtips. You've got this olive drab on the inner and upper part of the fuselage here. The reason they did that was for sunlight. It was for glare. When you were looking off to the right or to the left, if you had this silver finish on this, it would, the sunlight would glare off of that really bad and you wouldn't be able to see around you. Situational awareness was the priority of most fighter pilots. They wanted to be able to see everything all around them really clear. And same thing up on the front of the nose here, just in front of the canopy. You had that usually a flat black or a dark olive drab to make sure you didn't get a lot of glare from the sun off of that, and that was the reason for that. But you've got these other little markings that go on there, all of his kills that go on the side, which you can see he had several. So I think he had close to 40 or something like that, so pretty incredible. But there you go, guys. There's a look at the Revell P-38J. It's a beautiful little kit in 1/48 scale. This will look cool hanging up with our other bombers that we finished. Going to do a Mustang in 1/48 scale too, and I think that'll be it for the planes for a while. As far as the military planes, I got a couple of other neat little planes that I'm kits that I've got coming that I'm going to build up here for you guys too, and they're not military planes. We'll kind of leave that as a surprise for a little while. Okay, guys, so I hope you enjoyed that. This is again, looking forward to this. We're going to start on this kit this week, and we'll see how long it takes to build this one. It looks like it's not too bad. Might have it done before the next show, but we might be maybe halfway there and show you where we're at. We'll see what happens, but hope you enjoyed the out-of-the-box kit review, and if you're a P-38 fan, this looks like it's a nice little kit. So we'll wrap this segment up and come right back, guys. Stay tuned. Okay, everybody, back with you again. Well, I hope you enjoyed the out-of-the-box kit review on the P-38. Really nice little kit. I'm really looking forward to getting started on that one. And speaking of model airplanes, I've got a neat little product that I wanted to show you guys here that I got in this week. Let me switch cameras here really quick, and we'll show you this. This is from a company out of, I'm trying to think of where it came from, but I picked this up off of eBay. This product is called Easy Line, and they have this in a few different sort of, I don't know if you want to call it thicknesses, and also in different colors, but I got this in black. And what you use this for is you use this for doing the, the rigging on an airplane. If you have something like an antenna or, on your old biplane type airplanes where you have all that rigging that goes around the wings and everything. So you can use this stuff. Now, checking around on some of the modeling forums, there's a few people out there using this, and that's where I picked up the idea for it. But most of them are using what they call the fine, which is, you can see it's labeled here. It's cost me about, I think about $4 for a 100-foot roll of it, so 100 feet's going to last me a long time. But what's really nice about this stuff is that it's elastic. If I can get it up to the camera here and show you the approximate thickness of it, it's probably going to have a hard time showing it up there, but it's got an elastic, it'll stretch really, really far. And what's really, really cool about this is that you cannot feel like any pressure whatsoever until you really, really start stretching it. So you don't have the issue if you put some of this on your model airplane. You can glue it onto your antenna masts or do your rigging on your wings of your older type airplanes. Even ships, like if you got all the rigging on the, if like you're building a Titanic model or a, even a battleship where they had quite a bit of rigging, submarines, anything like that. You can glue this stuff on, and you don't have to worry about, with the thread type stuff that a lot of people use or wire. You have to pull that stuff really tight, and so you actually have a little bit of pressure on the parts. Once it's glued, it's trying to pull on the parts. Where with this stuff here, I mean, you're not going to have any pressure there at all, but yet it'll remain nice and taut and tight like it should and look really good. The other nice thing about it is that it won't unravel. It won't, over time it won't start getting that. If you use the thread type stuff that a lot of people used to use in the past, it starts getting fuzzy over time. What a lot of people do with that, they either clear coat it with something or they put some wax on it to keep it from doing that. But this stuff won't unravel or anything. So it's really, really cool stuff, and I'm pretty amazed. Like I said, I'm pulling it, pretty far here, and I can't feel any pressure whatsoever. I mean, it's just amazing, and it's meant to last a lifetime. It's a nylon-based stuff, so it won't, break down and degrade over time. So that's a nice little product out there, and you can find these different assortments of this stuff on eBay. Like I said, if you have a little search, just type in Easy Line, and you'll see that there's all kinds of different options on that. Another little product I wanted to share with you guys came in here this week from my good friend Elliot Brown over at warmplastic.com. You guys have heard me talk about Elliot Brown. Elliot does a lot of photo etch work. And what this is here is this is for scale modelers that want to add some details on the interiors of their vehicles and things. If you guys know, a lot of the, back in the old days, like inside cars and trucks, they used to have, especially like truckers and some of the other people, they used to have like little trinkets inside their vehicles, like stuff to kind of decorate their interior and kind of personalize it. So here what we have is it's kind of hard to see, but we've got the little Hawaiian girl, the dancing Hawaiian girl, the hula girl that you see on a lot of dashboards of old cars or trucks and stuff. You've also got that the old school, the bird that used to drink out of the water that would sit there and bob its head up and down. That's actually here too. There's a bunch of little details, different things here, and Elliot just kind of came up with this and sent it to me. He said that he saw I was building quite a few cars and trucks and stuff, and thought I could use these. So these are available from Elliot Brown over at www.warmplastic.com, and he's got tons of other photo etch stuff there. He's got photo etch sets for the Mobius Jupiter 2 and a lot of other stuff. He's going to be doing some photo etch work for me in the near future on some Star Trek stuff I'm working on. But just thought I'd show that to you guys too. It's a really nifty little deal. You just kind of put them together. They're flat right here, but you actually put them together so they become kind of three-dimensional, almost like building some of those metal Earth models that you guys are building out there. So it's really neat, and thought I'd show that to you guys. Here, real quick, something interesting. This is a 350 scale TOS Enterprise that I'm building, and I just wanted to show you what I'm doing on this one. This particular client requested that we don't have any grid lines on this. If you can see, I've made this completely smooth, and there's a really easy way to do that. I've seen people out there where they hand sanded them down to get rid of the grid lines, and wow, that's a lot of work. But what you can do now with this perfect plastic putty that we use all the time, it comes with this sort of cake decorator tip, if you want to call it that. And so what I did here is I just put that tip on my perfect plastic putty, and I just made a bead, a thin bead down each one of those grid lines, and then the circular ones that went around. And it only took one little thin bead, and then what I did is after it, I let it sit for a few minutes, and then I just took my finger and just kind of flattened it out and went all the way around it like that, and then let it dry. Then I sanded it with some 320 to get, just to kind of level it all out. And then I've hit it with a coat of primer, and in one kind of pass, you can see it made this entire thing, perfectly smooth and really nice. And I thought it was going to be a whole lot more work than that when I told him that I would go ahead and do that for him. But it turned out really nice, and it's a really easy way to do it versus putting it on really thick. If you use regular putty, like the 3M Red or something like that, you're just taking it right out of the tube. You'd be kind of smeared it on there kind of thick. But using that little applicator tip, I was able to just make a really fine little bead on each one of the lines down there. The tip actually kind of followed right into the line and followed the grooves, and that worked out really great. So I just thought I'd show that to you if you ever want to try doing that. And then here, finally, here's a look at our Saturn 1B. I got this all finished up now. The last thing you guys saw I had to do was I had to put the escape tower on there. We've got the removable top here that has the lem inside there. Unfortunately, I didn't get very much of a start, or much of a start on the Saturn V rocket. I've also added the actual engines here on the bottom of this, so this is pretty well wrapped up. There's just a couple small little decals that I got to put on it, and it'll be done. But I didn't get much time to spend on the Saturn V this week. I'll get back to it a little bit on my spare time this week, and we'll get a start on that and show you that for next week's show. But I've been knee-deep in 350 scale Enterprises. I've got 5 of them going at the same time, and so I'm just kind of assembly lining those and getting them all caught up. But so anyway, I thought you guys would enjoy seeing that stuff. So we'll take another quick break now, guys, and we'll come back and we're going to show you our brand new slideshow that we've got for you this week from our models from the Model Shop Google community. It's another fantastic show, some beautiful models in there, guys. You'll see that right after the break. Okay, back with you again, everybody. Well, I've got the slideshow all fired up and ready to go, and before I crank it up, I just wanted to say again a big shout out and a thank you to everybody who keeps submitting their pictures in. We try to include them all when we get them in there. Sometimes they don't come through right or something like that, and we'll if we didn't make it this time, guys, we'll get them in our next show. This slideshow we've got tonight's all the most recent stuff that we've gotten in, and it's just amazing to me how busy you guys stay and try to help us out keeping new material coming in, so we really appreciate that, guys. I want to mention too real quick that next week I'm going to do, we haven't done one in a while, I'm going to do a Modeler's Spotlight, and it'll be featuring Adam Corville next week. Adam goes by Triskelion or Mr. Atoz on the Sci-Fi Model Action forums. Adam's got a really nice modeling history with a lot of sci-fi subjects, and I've kind of put together some of his work, and we'll do a nice presentation for you on that next week. Adam just recently finished up a really beautiful MPC 22-inch Eagle build with all the full lighting and everything, so we'll feature that in there as well. So we'll have that for you next week, and I hope you guys will enjoy that. Meantime, here's the slideshow. Enjoy, guys. We'll be right back after that. Well, how about that, everybody? Hats off and a big round of applause to everybody that did such hard work on those models. We really appreciate the fact that you guys share those with us here on the show, and I know everybody really enjoys seeing that slideshow. A really wide range of subjects again on this one. Really fantastic work all around, guys, so hats off. Okay, everybody, we're going to take another quick break, and then we're going to come back with part 4 of our Creating the Enterprise interview with Paul Olsen, Mark Stetson, Richard Taylor, and Jim Dow. So sit back and enjoy that. Be back in just a couple seconds, everybody. Now we have we're up to the point now where we're getting close to the end of the film, and do you guys, when you're getting to that point in the film, are you looking forward to the end, or are you starting to have a little bit of trepidation about breaking up the team and maybe worrying about what your next project might be, or is it typical when you're on something like that by the time you reach the end that you've already got your next work lined up? Or
there is no typical.
No typical.
To me, that's a defining characteristic of crew. When I was running my own shops, there were the guys that would start calling around about 2 months out, and they were usually the guys with young families, mortgages, and they had lives that required cash flow. And there are other people, and they're first. And there are other people that just were young and single and project focused, and they were just much more interested in the completion and the closure than they were in finding the next thing.
Mm-hmm. Our situation on specific to Star Trek was there were so many things happening around us that it's just kind of the door closed. And that's what these things here are. Giant semi-truck and trailers showed up, and we loaded up the dry dock and loaded up the Enterprise, and they went off to the next step because we were absorbed and shut down, and it's kind of and then getting away from Star Trek, productions are kind of like rapid ramp up, and you don't have time to think, and then there's a cliff and a garage sale.
Yeah, that's exactly right. There's no bell curve to it. There's no bell curve. And I learned that about crewing shows too. You don't bell curve off. The producer might think, well, can't you start losing people towards the end? No, you can't. It's a crisis all the way up to the last second. So you ramp up your crew, and you keep them to the last, and then you just cut it end.
There's a cliff and a garage sale.
Yeah,
exactly I've garage saled so many companies. The decade of the 70s, I garage saled Future General a couple of times, and it's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm. See, we all have tattoos that say that right here.
Garage sale.
Garage sale.
So at the end of Star Trek, was there any thought about possibly revisiting Star Trek, or was there a thought in your mind about? I guess the simplest way to say it is that you've done your jobs, and you look at it as you did the best you could, and you're not. How much concern do you have about the overall success of the film? I mean, besides showcasing your work, to influence possibly returning back to that at a later date, or if you move beyond that, like I said, immediately when like Jim says, after you walk out the door, is it?
You move on to the next project.
And nobody thought
it is.
there was going to be another Star Trek.
No.
It was a one-off.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we all thought at the time.
Yeah. No, there's.
Well, I thought what it did that was important was we set a particular kind of design level, the typeface that we designed. My art group at Abel's designed the typeface, the Klingon typeface, all the logos, the lettering, all the graphics everywhere, and that's remained as
the standard of the franchise.
And that was a custom typeface that we designed. And the Klingon typeface. So all those kind of little details still hang in there as little touches that are in there as far as the craftsmanship and the work that we did with those tools at that time. It rocked pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Richard, can you read Klingon?
Just speak it. Speak it or sing it.
Your voice a little bit.
Yeah, it has to be a lot of that.
Yeah, Gene Roddenberry.
Yeah.
I think the baseline is that we all approach everything we do as we're going to give it everything, and it's going to be the best there ever was, and that's how I feel about what we did. And
Well, that's what you do as a creative person. I mean, you whatever you do, you
You throw
give it
yourself
everything.
100%
Otherwise,
into it,
otherwise you're
110%.
not.
Yeah.
And,
Well,
otherwise
As a
they'll-
as a creative person, you don't get to retire, really.
Right.
No.
No.
Like, God,
No.
that's it, that's no more ideas,
Yeah.
I'm not thinking up anything else.
Yeah,
That tends to build on itself, doesn't it, with people in the team, that when they see someone doing that, that kind of just spreads and everybody just gets that attitude.
oh, yeah,
Sure.
yeah,
Mhm.
and the chaff falls away rapidly,
Mhm.
and if you can't, keep up with the race, if you can't keep up, then
Mhm.
find something else to do.
Right, yeah.
I can really safely say that the crew that I put together there, there was no chaff. We didn't, well, wait a minute.
The shotgun guy.
I don't remember his name, but the guy that mixed 50-50 foam with his hands in a 5-gallon bowl.
Oh, boy.
I don't remember
Yeah,
that.
he disappeared. He was only there for about a week.
That's dangerous. I would say that my answer to that question would be that. It's so crazy. My answer to that is that filmmaking is above all a collaboration, and it's a collaboration that everybody has to work together. Everybody puts everything they have into it. It works best when there's one person at the top, which was your problem with the design of Star Trek.
Yeah,
It works much better when you have a director that is directing the film and directing the effort, rather than an executive
Yes.
producer and a director sort of hired on. One model's a TV model, one model's a film model, but if you've got one person identified as the creative key, and the whole project's going to at least rise to that level, then we'll go smoothly. But everybody along the way has to give it their all. They just do.
And you're always reinventing the wheel. I mean, there are always problems that
Right.
come up that you cannot anticipate, and you have to come up with unique solutions that
Especially if
maybe
they
have never
change
been
the
done
script
before.
every day.
right.
Yeah.
Well, as a
Yeah.
director, which, I am, it's how you think on your feet, and you can be incredibly dogmatic, that I have this shot I wanted to do with those earphones there in that position perfectly, but the light changed and all these things, dynamics are going around, and you can be, no, damn it, I want it this way, and start forcing this thing, or you could say, okay, I get it, well, I'm gonna move the camera here, this flag that, make a cross here, do that, and bammo, you got the shot and you move on, because you're adapting to what's going on, and you know the overall picture. And that's what Mark's saying, you really need leadership in all the departments, and
Right.
and the director for
Mhm.
sure.
What would you say was the most fondest memory that you would have from working on that film?
People you meet, probably.
Just the overall experience
The
of it?
people
or-
you meet and work with, I
Yeah.
think.
Mhm.
Building the enterprise,
I think the
pretty cool.
radio-controlled car races that we had in the parking lot across the street.
Yeah.
Remember
Who's
that?
that illustrator, that guy that did the cutaway illustrations? And
Yes.
man, he-
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, he was
Um,
insanely good with those.
yeah.
yeah. What was his
He
name?
chased them around
Dave,
the traffic
was it
and
Dave
stuff.
something?
No.
Yeah.
Big guy.
Yes.
Yeah,
big
yeah, he
guy.
had a studio out in Burbank, I think
Yeah.
it was.
He had
Yeah.
an 8-scale gas-powered
Yeah.
RC car that was
Yeah.
like the twice as fast as anything anybody else had.
I
We-
was out
we
of his
built-
place,
we went
and
out
he would
and-
drive them down through traffic and come around, he was.
What a great thing to film.
There was a big parking lot across the street that was generally empty, and we bought 8th scale radio-controlled cars and built them on our own time in the shop. And
Must have been on our own time.
yeah, I don't know how it started, but all of a sudden everybody in the shop had one, and we would adjourn at lunch and go over to the parking lot, and we had a track laid out, and we'd have a ball with those things. And then he showed up with his gas-powered
Yeah.
80-mile-an-hour thing.
This is an illustrator who did, for all the major car companies like Honda, Toyota, Chevrolet, whatever, he did these intricate cutaway drawings of engines and transmissions so that you could look inside and see. And they were spectacular, and they were all airbrushed.
Yeah.
He would do it, he would outline it all in pen and ink and everything, and then airbrush it, and they were
So he did one
scary.
of those of the Enterprise.
Yeah.
while we were working on the movie, actually, he started working on that.
Excellent. Now, I've had conversations with some of the people that were involved with some of the later versions of Star Trek. Next Generation, some of the later movies. There's a fellow out there by the name of Doug Drexler. I don't know if you guys know or have heard of
I know
him.
his name.
He refers to your group as the godfathers of Star Trek, and that you guys should be not made to feel
Should be
old
shot.
with that term, but meant as a term of honor, that you pretty much set the standard for every film since Star Trek, the motion picture, and that all the films have tried to aspire to that level as far as the level of technical and problem solving that you guys, and there's a lot of consensus out there with the fans that the Enterprise itself was never again filmed so beautifully, and the model itself that you built, Jim, and all of you have worked on, there's never been a miniature in any film that was so perfect that you could go right up to it and get right on top of it and see it on a 60-foot screen and just say it's real. It's a real ship. It's 1,000 feet long and it flies by, and
It was a beautiful model. It
That's-
really was. It
That's
was a
all we
beautiful-
wanted.
Yeah.
That's
So
all
would
we
you guys
wanted.
agree
That's
with
all we
that?
were-
I mean, having
I-
seen the model and worked
Yeah.
on the model and comparing it with
Well,
other
we're prejudiced,
miniatures
but yeah.
that you've worked on,
Yes,
how
but
it
I would
compares?
say one thing that I want to be very complimentary here is that, you know, I was involved in designing it and helping get it to a particular point before it rolled on its way. And the way it was lit and shot, and what Trumbull did and that whole team over there, the way it was lit, the miniatures and stuff, it was beautifully done. So they did pull the shots off really, really, and the lighting was really, really terrific.
I thought went into that lighting. You know,
Yeah,
between
the little-
Stewart
little
and
fiber
Virgil
optic thing.
Morano and the dental mirrors.
Dental mirrors and
Yeah, the
fiber
dental mirrors
optics
was
and
great.
stuff,
Yeah,
hitting little, you know, just hitting little
Yeah.
details here and there.
yeah.
Mhm,
I think that's what gave it
Great.
scale. It was really well shot.
Yeah.
mhm.
But they couldn't, Doug said to me straight away when it was all revealed, and we all walked in and they lit it. You know, he said, Paul, you know, it looks stunning, but we just, you know, we're gonna have to light it low. We can't light it real hot because we'll get light kicks off the edge and the mats, they couldn't pull clean mats. So nobody has ever, other than the people who were there, who worked on it, who shot it, nobody's ever seen how truly beautiful it was. And that now it's been ruined. But it was really, I mean, I was jaw dropped when I saw it because I'd been working, you know, we'd all been working on it in fluorescent lighting in the model shop. It wasn't dramatically lit, and boy, when it was in the dry dock
Yeah.
and
Were
lit,
you all there at the same time or about the same time when they did that first lighting session with the professionals lighting the model and
It
getting
wasn't
the-
one session, it was a
was-
developmental process. They'd
Uh-huh.
roll it out and we'd be working on it, so they'd roll back in and out
Yeah.
and they'd do tests on it. And
Mhm.
You know,
They're lighting
that's
testing.
luxury.
There's a hero shot
There is
actually
no
of the,
luxury.
Yeah.
there's kind of a hero shot angle of it in the dry dock that Virgil Morano shot like 8x10s of and everything. I think that was probably when they had it
yeah.
lit for that angle that,
Mhm.
And I'd love to get hold of some of those 8x10s. I've been trying to get hold of Virgil and I haven't had no luck. You see him once in a while, don't you?
Once in a while, he's involved with the Visual Effects Society, so
Yeah.
uh,
Oh,
he comes around, see him usually at least once a year.
right.
he's at most of those events.
Yeah.
So you've all gone on to have very distinguished careers and are continuing in the movie businesses. And you've seen these changes take place since the time of motion picture. And looking back on that now, do you have any sense of which one do you, it's, you know, I don't want to say it in a bad way, but which one do you feel really truly captures the essence of movie making, the digital age or what was done, say, at the time of the motion picture?
Who wants to answer?
I'll
that?
go first. I think digital visual effects, I mean, all the tools that are part of the digital tool set are much better tools. And it's much easier to do visual effects on a high quality level with the tool set we have now than it was then. How that tool is used is a different story.
Yeah.
But And
It's a
that
new
comes
paint-
down to creative
A
individuals.
new paintbrush,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and it's the hand behind the brush.
But it's really, it's still a much better tool set. Some of the things that we've talked about, even about the old enterprise model, you know, from Paul's point of view, as soon as ILM got a hold of that model, it was ruined. But that was a function of process, not creative choice. Doug took the time to front light, backlight, all this matte work on the thing, whereas ILM's process was dictated by blue screen. So they could not put a glossy model in front of their blue screen to get any kind of matte.
Especially black.
Yeah.
Well, they get all kinds of dropout because whatever screen color they use,
So they-
there was that color somewhere in the model.
Yeah.
So they had no choice but to matte it. I mean, to matte the finish on the thing, so they could do their traveling matte work in a way that fit their process. You know, Doug also shot on 65 millimeter film, which was at that time the largest film stock people were using for visual effects. And I'll tell you, seeing dailies of that ship printed from the original negative, like the day after, oh my God, it's just so beautiful.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it really was.
We were,
So I think that there are still times when miniatures are good tools and good, you know, a great way to do work that way. But for the most part, you know, being able to composite digitally is essential, and to enhance shots digitally, even if they begin as miniatures, is still almost universally going to give you a better product than the old tools in the old way.
Well, you all were incredibly talented artists, and there's a lot you could do with the motion picture, but I think, isn't it true with digital that I think we were talking about this earlier, Richard, you can literally create anything
Yeah.
yes.
that an artist
There's
or
nothing
somebody, a
that you can
storyteller
imagine that we can't
can
create.
imagine. Mhm.
If it's the media it's going to eventually play in, you know, is it in 3D, is it a theater, is some new form of entertainment? But it's total media land that we're in, so the mixture of whatever it takes to do the thing well, and the mixture of models with the digital thing's not going away. That is what we do, and it's
Yeah.
only going to get more and more
Better.
pervasive. So the complexity of imagery around us now, it's really dense everywhere. So it's like a paintbrush, and it's how you play it, and
Yeah.
it's a mixture. So you were asking initially the old era of models and that versus doing it digitally. That's like trying to be, you know, draw a line in the sand, which has never existed really.
Mhm.
As a working visual effects supervisor, I still will look at some project and think, oh, that'd be a cool miniature project. Let's see what this looks like. And as soon as you budget it out and you realize how much time it takes to build it properly and then
Yeah.
shoot it, and actually the process of shooting it is expensive too.
Right.
Whereas if you're, you know, if you approach that same, say it's the Enterprise, and you approach that same thing digitally, you've got a couple of guys modeling it and texturing it, and then you start animating it, and then you start lighting it. And those are all things that happen in a very contained environment. You know, basically, people at workstations, and it comes down to the quality of the people doing it. But
Right.
the process is much faster and cheaper. It's just cheaper because you don't need a whole crew working to light each individual shot like that. You know?
Right.
And the director's cut, that's a CG Enterprise, you know, all those
Mhm.
other shots and stuff, so. They've built
It's-
that.
The example for it, for me as a fan, just using the motion picture again as an example, owning both versions of the movie myself, the Blu-ray of the original, and then now they haven't made a Blu-ray of the director's cut, and I think it had something to do with the way it was shot. They couldn't do it, the resolution or something didn't match up. But the director's cut, as you know, all the shots, exterior shots of the Enterprise are all done CGI. It's not the model
That's
anymore.
what I said.
And I mean, when we look at that, me anyways, I don't think it looks as good. It doesn't have the rich texture to it. It doesn't have the illusion of scale as much. It doesn't seem like where the thing just looks really
Well, you have to think
big.
about the budget of the director's cut refinish and how much time they had to spend on doing that work versus how much time was spent on the original.
Or to,
Some-
go ahead, I'm sorry.
You,
To dig up that model and relight it and
Yeah.
do all the work that it
Have
takes
to be
would be,
refinished.
no way.
Right.
Which we'll talk about at the end of this.
Right.
it- I think that for me, I still bring value to teams working digitally with tools I have no idea how to use because of my experiences and because of the experiences that I can put in front of other people and say, look how this was lit, look how light affected this object, or let's go out in the parking lot and I'll show you what depth of focus should look like, and take people through the exercises like that just based on my experiences. So that is, still has a lot of value in a visual effects team, especially with artists that are young, that have been trained on digital media and are expert at using the tools, but just maybe don't have the same life experiences that certainly we have under our belts at this point.
Right.
As one godfather to another.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, again, that's was said in an extremely complimentary way, from the standpoint of laying the groundwork and being the standard bearer, and everyone's tried to maintain the level of dedication and quality that you guys did in that project throughout, and it's the finest example of all the Trek films as far as photography and miniature work, and that's saying a lot because they've put a lot into each one of these. And I mean, the two newest films are action-packed for sure, but they just don't have that. There's just something that's not quite there that's quite the same. Anyways, for long-time Trek fans that have been following the franchise for quite a while, we appreciate that they're keeping it alive, but there's just something a little different about it now, where there isn't so much focus on character as there is the action and things like that. But,
Well, the shots are much, the speed of the way films are shot and edited today, it's like everybody's got a nervous system like a hummingbird.
Yeah.
And, and because of the media that everybody's being surrounded, then they are faster. So that film, it takes a lot more time. There's a lot more grandeur to that whole intro to the Enterprise, and the scales and things are because they aren't pushing the shot so fast now.
Now we're 30 years on into that, and I know all of you have not had the experience, but Paul has actually attended one of the big Star Trek conventions and had a chance to be up front and see what the fans think about you guys. Have you guys ever thought of that? And what do you think about the fans or what would you like fans to think of as far as your legacy of seeing your work up on the screen? And even though it's not being shown in theaters anymore, millions of people every day are probably watching the movie. And what do you think about that when you think about what you'd like them to remember about your work, and where you see yourselves continuing in your career beyond what you've already accomplished?
In the next 30 years.
Well, that'll take about 30 years.
Speak for yourself.
To play out, right?
I think you said it all when your comment, which I appreciate very much, about what we accomplished, and for me, that's it. That's all the reward I need is someone to say that. Hearing that is music, and to me, that's what we did it for.
But Jim, if you could have, if you and Richard and Mark could have been at that convention, 30,000 people, and the love and the interest, and the real interest in really smart people. I'm not talking about geeks or
These aren't people that wear the Spock ears and
and from all over the world, and
Too bad I was going to wear mine.
Note to self.
as fans, we're very open-minded, and we don't. I guess to continue on with part of that question is, we've had the Trek conventions have been going on for 40 years, going on 50 years now. I think the first one was right around 1976 in Chicago was the first one, and there's been people that have been from some of the later incarnations of, say, from like the Next Generation and some of these that are kind of doing the regular Trek convention circuit. If you were given the opportunity to do that, let's say we're going to be doing the Biggie coming up here pretty soon, 50th anniversary, which to me will be the most important anniversary of Star Trek ever. The reason why is because 50 is the big number, and by the time we get to 100th anniversary, none of the people that were involved with any of the original stuff are going to be around.
The 50th of the beginning of the whole Star Trek phenomenon,
Yeah, it has to be.
starting with TV.
Yeah,
Yeah.
1966.
Okay. Because we didn't do that movie 50 years ago.
No.
Might feel like it's something.
I was just thinking, I was 19.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I was in high school.
But would that be something, I mean, because I can tell you from a fan standpoint, we've heard, it's been kind of these same guys doing the circuit all these years. They've told the stories over and over and over.
Yeah.
And again, going back to what we discussed in the beginning, the motion picture is probably one of the least documented of all the films, and not, there's little snippets here and there, and I found actually some little YouTube snippets of you guys talking to various people on, visual effects and things like that over time. But I know, speaking as a fan myself, and I'm sure speaking for millions around the world, they would love to see you guys come through and
Kind of
elaborate
scares me,
and speak to the audience about your experiences there. And I know Paul has been dramatically affected by his experience of his first convention.
Well, it moved me to write the book.
Mhm.
And then I met you as a result of the book, and then written a screenplay to try and get a movie made if we can get the Enterprise restored. And I mean, it just knocked me out because I hadn't forgotten about what I did, but life moves on and you do other things, and I'm sure it's the same for Jim and Richard and Mark. Well, certainly, this guy here, he's been, knocking his socks off all around the world. And I thought, it really brought home to me that what we did as part of this film has really affected a lot of people, and it engenders a lot of love and affection because the Enterprise is the vehicle through which all the adventures occur, and it's the real star of Star Trek. And that ship is so beautiful, these two guys, it's really brought me to a different place, and I just feel there's no way anyone, I could never convey to Jim or Richard or Mark how strong that feeling is. But if they were to walk onto a stage and there were 5,000, 10,000 people there who were all just focused on them, I think it would really give them pause.
Scare me to death.
I've actually done a little bit of that.
Yeah.
I think around the time the movie first released, so back around 79, 80, maybe 1980, maybe it was when the Ambassador Hotel still existed, so it was quite a while ago.
Coconut Grove, yeah.
I did a convention with Greg. We sat on a panel with Greg Jean and Joe Viscoso, and there was somebody else in there talking about Star Trek. Can't remember who else was in there. And it was, I've done it before, and that wasn't the only time. I went on at the studio's behest, sort of peddling Blade Runner and Brainstorm when they were released back in the early 80s. And then the Blade Runner 25th anniversary Comic-Con thing, I was part of that.
Yeah, because the appreciation for these classic films grows.
It's like a WorldCon Fifth Element presentation.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, there may have been a perception that that maybe going back a ways with films that the director or the actors were the people that got all the credit, or that anybody was even interested in. Nobody was interested in the guys that built the models or anything like that. But when you go back and if you go back and look and see the pattern now, go look at DVDs or Blu-rays. Every single one of them now, if it's a big release, it's got 3 DVDs with it of all the behind-the-scenes stuff. And half the people that buy them are buying it because they're interested in that, not just the movie itself. So there's a huge difference now with being interested in what, things like what you guys did and everything like that. And I think that, I went back and looked at the interviews that you guys did last year and you taped last year, and you all seemed to be sort of surprised that, after listening to what Paul had said about his experience, that, wow, there's actually people that care about that kind of thing. Well, I mean, there's millions of people that care about it.
we're behind the scenes guys too.
Mhm.
And it used to be said that the better the effects, the more invisible we are.
Yeah, so you don't see the movie craft.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
and so we're used to being invisible.
Well, talking about having to deal with that, I mean, because I did the effects for Tron, there's no way to escape, you know, talking about it. And last year, or the year before last, we had the Tron 30th anniversary.
Yeah, yeah.
And that film is an icon.
Absolutely.
And has continued to grow and grow and grow. So at times I've been on panels or special screenings and stuff like that. So we've done that kind of speaking and so forth. To do it for the Star Trek group and so forth, it's always an honor to have people's attention. You know, if it's focused and you know what it's for, and it's, you know, not some chaotic deal.
Yeah.
You know?
Right, yeah.
Or antagonistic.
Okay, guys, back with you again. I hope you enjoyed part 4 of the interview. I don't know about you guys, but I just absolutely love those guys. They're just so down to earth and so real. And, you know, I keep mentioning it, but I'm really pulling hard for Paul and the team to pull off the project of, you know, building a brand new ship in 12 foot. And I'm particularly looking forward to, you know, I've been invited out there to help them work on it if it comes to pass. And I'm really particularly looking forward to working with Jim Dow. I absolutely love Jim. He's such a nice guy and so thoughtful and so humble, but he's just an absolute genius. And you could see it, how easy and fun it would be to work with a guy like him. And so I'm really looking forward to it. I apologize for cutting in there. I went to check the time to see how much was left on the video before I had to cut back here, and I hit the wrong button, so didn't mean to crash the party. Okay, guys, well, we'll come back next week with the final part. It'll be the conclusion. And then I put together a little presentation afterwards. A lot of you guys have asked about some of the behind the scenes stuff that went on there. I've got some pictures that I took of some of the artifacts that Mark Stetson had left over from the movie, some of the props and some of the interesting memorabilia that he had and everything, some behind the scenes stuff. So we'll share that with you at the end of the final segment of the interview next week. So that'll be something to look forward to. So anyways, guys, it's been kind of running kind of long here again. So we'll head over now and wrap this thing up for tonight and do our shout outs and our Q&A for tonight. So hope you guys enjoyed that. Okay, I'm going to slide up to the top here and see we've got, first of all, we've got E-Biker here, James Frost. Nice to see you, James. Beat Tilly, James Schulenberg, Heath Tompkins, Jeff Black, Shannon Freeman, the Captain, Mike Kovach, Gary M, Modeler X, Eddie Perez, Chris Ferrell, Omar, Outsider 238, Gadgetron 3000, Federation Shipyard, nice to see you, Dennis, Randy Gagliano, Rocket Boy 1969, Chuck Brooks, Brian Knowles, Dana Church, Michelle Bennett, Triskillions here. Like I said, next week we're going to do a nice little modeler's spotlight on you, Adam. You've got a nice history of posting a lot of your really beautiful work with your sci-fi builds, and I've been gathering up some of your pictures, and we'll post those along with your recently finished 22-inch MPC Eagle from Space 1999, and put that all together and do a little modeler's spotlight on you. I hope you'll enjoy that. It's beautiful work. We have Alpha Trion 92 with us, George Volkowski, Stephen Buckle. I think he might be new. Nice to have you with us, Stephen. Chris Ferrell. Oh, nice to see Chris Cortell with us tonight. Good to see you, buddy. Scale Model Kit Review. Modeler X, Gary M, Roger Ball. And a really nice crowd tonight, guys. Glad you could hang out with us tonight. B. Tilly is here. Slingshot 427. Christopher Baxley. Dan Harris. Got DeWitt here with us tonight, SF Modeler. I hope I got that right, DeWitt. If it was you that sent me those stamps, I really appreciate that, buddy. I couldn't make out a name on the return address, but when I saw it was from Canada, I figured it was probably you. Let's see. Mitch Seagraves is here. Nice to see you, Mitch. Clint Llewellyn. Clint's been building some nice model airplane kits, and he's been getting, I think he's working on the Spirit of St. Louis. He's working on a Japanese Zero, on F-14 Tomcat. He's been posting progress of his work over on our Google page. So you've got Modeler X. Dana Church. Super Dash Rendar. Jamie Carrasco. I think he might be new. Nice to have you with us, Jamie. I have a friend here in San Antonio named Carlos Carrasco. I don't know if you guys are related. Got Chuck Brooks here tonight. Nice to see you, Chuck. I missed you the other night. I hopped on with Cal on Uvu for a while, a couple hours the other night, and hoping I would see you there, but I guess you were probably busy that night. B. Tilly says, Boyd, next time you talk to any of these guys, let them know how much we love watching this. Well, I sure will, Bill. I think they got kind of an idea when we kind of went through some of that stuff. It was just kind of dawning on them. You know, like I said, Paul had gone to one of the conventions, the big one in London, and he was just blown away when he went on the stage and couldn't believe that there were that many people. And that's kind of what led to him, you know, getting back in touch with the guys. You know, when you saw this interview here, they hadn't all been together in one place for almost 30 years, so it was really a nice little get together for them. And you know, as they get closer to getting this 12-foot Enterprise project going, they're gonna, you know, get together again, and I'll be out there again to shoot some footage of all that happening and everything. So I'm really pulling hard for them. They've got a, you know, a big goal to meet, but like I said, once some of these, you know, you've got some pretty big names that are starting to come on board, some of the original cast and crew, and, you know, they have a lot of pull as far as getting word out to the media and stuff, and that's mainly what we're trying to do, is just get the word out. Once the word gets out, you know, what Star Trek fan wouldn't want to support that? So keep our fingers crossed, everybody. Okay, guys, well, I made it down to the end of the shout-outs here. We've got, Omar's here. I don't know if I caught you, Omar. Beautiful work on both of your models that we showed tonight. I think you've inspired me to get one of those Bell X-1 kits, too. That looks like a really nice model. You did a fantastic job on it. The cockpit looked beautiful, too. All the detail in there. I really like those historical aircraft. If anybody has any questions about anything, now's the time to fire away. Either myself or somebody here can help you out. If you got a something you're dealing with on one of your models, or you know, you want to ask something else. Gary M asks if the Uvu scene is still happening. Yeah, we're all hopping on there, Gary. There's really not really any kind of a set schedule to it. I jump on there in the evenings when I can, if I'm not knee deep in a whole bunch of work, you know. and I have time to sit down for a few minutes and talk with the guys, I try to hop on there when I can. It's usually around 8 or 9 o'clock my time, which is USA Central Time here in the States. But a lot of guys are on there. You just have to get on there. Cal, Chuck, quite a few of us that hop on there. And once you get on there, get everybody to share their friends' contact list with you, and that way it all shows up when somebody hops on. You'll see that when you click on and you turn UVU on, you'll see that some of your friends are on, and you can just hop in there. Mike Kovach says, thanks for showing my AirWolf. Well, I'm glad to do it, Mike. I really appreciate you sending me the pictures, and you did a great job on it. I thought that your idea of building it coming up out of the volcano like it did on the TV show was a fantastic and really clever idea. I know you and Kenny at Mindless Model Works, and I think can't remember who else it was. Somebody else was. You guys did a group build on that, but they all turned out really nice. Benny Gilardi is here with us too. Benny says, "Hey Boyd, the Williams Brothers Electra is on its way. Looking forward to doing my first aircraft in over 30 years." Well, good for you, Benny. I'm glad you found something that interests you out there. I'm looking forward to building that kit too. It seems like a really nice little kit. I had never heard of Williams Brothers before. It's an older kit. Mine, the box on there, it says it was made in 1993, but the decals and everything that came with it are in good shape. They're made by Microscale, which is a really high quality decal company, and they seem to have held up really well. And I'll show you all that stuff next week. We'll have an out of the box kit review on that, and I'm really looking forward to building that one. We've also got a few more people checking in. Darren Shank. I am sorry, Derek. I didn't see your name pop up there before. Patrick Rieger. He says he asked the question earlier, but I'd like your input. What would be a good substance to use to fill in the hull plate pattern on the AMT Enterprise refit? That perfect plastic putty that I just showed a little while ago would be perfect for that, Patrick. And you've got that little applicator tip. You can control it, and you just put a little bead on there, and just let it dry, and then come back and just sand it down. And you might have to do that once, maybe twice, depending on how deep the lines are. And they're fairly deep on that 350 scale toss, so I was pretty impressed that it filled it in one shot, and then I just sanded it down. And after I sanded it down and primed it, you could still see just a tiny little bit of it there, but after I put a second coat, I'm using a high build, duplicolor high build primer out of a can. And after I sprayed the second coat on there, I sanded it. What I did is I primered it, let it dry, then I sanded it, and then you could just barely see any of the, the kind of the outline of where it was. I primed it again and sanded it again, and it's gone. I mean, it's perfectly smooth, so it works really good. That perfect plastic putty dries really fast too, and it being it's water soluble, if you get any areas where you didn't want it, it just cleans up really easy. Just take a towel or something, an old rag, and with some water, and just wipe it right off. So you can get that stuff through Jerry at HDA Model Works. He's got a good deal on it, and he's all stocked up on it. Otherwise, I believe it comes from the UK. If you order it from somebody on eBay or something like that, it takes a while longer. But Jerry, right here in the United States, through HDA Model Works, carries that stuff. I know quite a few of you have said you've bought some from him, and that's where I get it. Looks like Heath's got a call tonight. Good to see you, Heath. And we'll definitely get your bandit pictures in our next show. Darren Shank says, have I ever used acrylic powder like a tech would use for doing fingernails for a filler? No, I've never tried that, Derek, but he says he's going to try it. And yeah, let us know over on the forums there on the board, Darren, what you think of that stuff. Always interested in trying new stuff. Randy Gagliano says, do you do any pre-shading on your builds? Oh, yes, Randy. The airplane builds and stuff like that, where you want to highlight the panels, you can spray, take your airbrush and spray some black on all the lines, and then when you spray your color coat, your final coat over the top of that, if you go a little thin in those areas, that will show up and give it a shadowing and shading effect. And then I'll usually do a wash over top of that, with a darker color. Yeah, Rocket Boy. I would. He says it's perfect plastic. Sounds like it's a wall spackle. You know, it reminds me of that, Mike. It reminds me of plaster of Paris. Basically, it's water soluble, and it dries and it sands just about like plaster of Paris. It dries really hard. I don't recommend using it on anywhere that you're going to have an area that's really going to be flexible, because it could probably crack. But just for general filling and stuff like that, it's great. I still use a combination of that and 3M spot putty and squadron putty, depending on what I'm working on. The 3M putty I use quite a bit still for just doing basic seam work and minor imperfections in the plastic and stuff like that. Gadgetron 3000 says he's using Liquitex modeling paste. He says it's a similar alternative to plastic putty. Roger Ball says he likes it. You can smooth it out with a wet cotton swab. Yeah, for example, I'll show you right around here on this BC deck. When you glue it on top of the, on the 350 Toss, you still have a little bit of a seam right there. And basically, all I do here is I run a bead of that plastic putty around there, and then just take a Q-tip, with water, and just go around it like once or twice, and it's all smoothed out and blended in. It doesn't have to be sanded or anything. It used to be, before I discovered that, I used to have to try to get in there and try to sand that or whatever, and it was kind of a pain in the butt. I mean, that and around like where the neck meets the bottom of the saucer and where the neck meets the secondary hull, you do the same thing, and it just gives you a perfectly, beautiful blend in there where you don't have to get in there and try to sand that, and works great. Dries really fast. And Chris Cortell's talking about Vallejo acrylic putty, also similar. I'd be interested to see what some of the price differences on some of those. What I try to do here, I'm on a budget, and what I try to do here is I try to find the best possible stuff I can use, but I also look at price. Sometimes I'm willing to spend more if it's something that's just way better than something else, but if there's a lot of things that are kind of similar out there, I'll always kind of look around and see what it costs. And the perfect plastic putty, anyways, through Jerry, it's pretty cheap. I think it's around $5 for a tube or something like that, which a tube of it lasts me quite a while. I did the entire top and bottom saucer of that 350 scale Enterprise saucer there, and it only took maybe about a little less than half of a tube of it. Yeah, Modeler X. I've got 5 of those going right now, and I'm just kind of lining them up and doing like an assembly line thing. Doing the steps on each one of them at a time. All my clients want something a little different in what they want in the build, though. So when I get to those little detail items, I have to focus on each one individually. But I'm learning my way as I go along with this. I've always built models just for myself and for doing client work. You have to kind of put yourself in a different mindset on that. And it's helping me out a lot now that this is my second week here I've had in the shop. I'm kind of settling in as far as doing it full time, getting my hours down and getting my workflow down and everything. So it's a learning experience. Chris says that Vallejo is $4.29 a tube for a 20 milliliter tube. That's a pretty good price, Chris. Just taking a look at this, what size this is. This is a 40 milliliter, so it's basically twice the size. But anyway, you can kind of look around and compare, and then Somebody, I was watching a YouTube video out there a little while ago, and I can't remember who the guy was, but he was talking about how important it is that, and I totally agree with him, that once you find things that work for you, you're better off sticking with them. I mean, he was talking about primers and things like that, and he was commenting on a particular primer that he used, and he's been using it for a long time, and he's never had any problems. And that's kind of a good school of thought, because when you can run into problems is when you start trying new things. And if you're all of a sudden getting issues with your paint, reacting and weird things going on, it's usually because you're doing something different that you weren't doing before. So sometimes it's good to get your own little system. I'm kind of stubborn on that myself. I have certain things that I like to use, and I just stick with them, and that helps me avoid some of those issues. But every once in a while, you want to reach out and try something new, because you always want to improve and everything and find something better. But experiment on some old junk kits or something like that you might have laying around before you get into your precious stuff that you're working on is a good idea. Dana Church says, do you have any light kits for the 350 TOS? Dana, the only thing that I carry, or that I do myself, is I have a soundboard that puts out the sounds, and it also has the firing photon and phaser effects that light up in the saucer for that work with my soundboard. But I don't do lighting kits here. I get all my lighting kit stuff from Ralph at Tenna Controls. If it's for flashing lights or control boards for doing special effects lighting and all that. I had thought about getting into that quite a while ago, but the stuff I get from Ralph is just it works so good. He's got the 5-year warranty, and I can basically call Ralph up and say, hey, I need this thing, or this effect or whatever. And I mean, Ralph is just on top of it. Within a week I'll get what I'm looking for, and it saves me a lot of hassle. That's not to say that people out there working on wanting to do their own thing, there's nothing at all against that, but there's a lot of people out there who don't want to fool around with that kind of stuff, and you just it's nice to have a guy like Ralph available who will help you out with all that. So that's pretty much how I look at it. A couple of you guys talk about that Home Shades primer. It's kind of weird. Some Walmarts carry it and some don't. I live in a big city here, and we've probably got about 30 Walmarts, believe it or not. And depending on what side of town I'm on, I've stopped by to pick some of that up, and some of them don't have it. And then the others, they have they have a whole shelf full of it. But I really like that primer. It's been working great. I've been using it on pretty much everything. The only time I'll not use it is if I'm going to do something where I know I'm going to be doing a lot of masking, like pulling masks and retaping and taping, because I have my duplicolor that I use for that, and I've never had any problem at all with that whenever I've done that kind of thing. But if it's just something I'm going to paint, and not have to blend in colors or pull masks and things, that I haven't had any problem with that at all. No reactions of any kind, and it's very inexpensive. Seems to dry really fast. It seems to sand good. I've said this before, but in my opinion, the mark of a good primer is how well it sands. Some of the primers, they seem to dry with sort of almost like a hard shell. Those acrylic type ones, and when you sand them, you don't even see any dust coming off of them. They're just they're too tough. And you want it to be a little bit soft. I prefer mostly the lacquer-based stuff. Like I said, I've been sticking with it because I've sprayed several different types of paint over the top of it and not had any problems with any reactions at all. I tend to stay away from most of the Rust-Oleum stuff. I've heard too many people have problems with Rust-Oleum. Yeah, Benny, I wouldn't recommend sanding that smooth because couple people have actually, you know, done that on the, like I said, on the 350 scale and some of the other ones, and you're going to put a lot of marks on it when you sand it like that. I mean, to sand it down that far and keep all your surfaces, you know, nice and round, and you're gonna wind up getting some flat spots in it and stuff like that, because with your hand you can't control how much pressure you're putting on it, and you're gonna, to sand that much plastic off of it, you're gonna have to use some aggressive sandpaper like 180 grit, and then, you know, once you get it broken down, you're gonna have to go to a smoother grit, you know, to get the scratches out of it. But it's to do that and not damage the plastic to where you got some flat spots here and there, that's going to be pretty hard to do. I'd recommend just filling those in with something and then sanding those smooth. Shannon Freeman's using TranStar. That's a good primer. It's expensive though, Shannon. I used to use that in the big, I think 16-ounce cans, but man, that stuff around here is like 12, 13 bucks a can, and just got too expensive. Chris says he uses Duplicolor, and primer and filler helps build strong bones and teeth. I agree with you, Chris. Doesn't seem to, the fumes from it doesn't seem to be overly strong either. It's not too hard to deal with. Devin Jones is here with us too. He says he uses Duplicolor. Yeah, it's pretty hard to beat Duplicolor. Yeah, I go through so much primer here that you know, I needed to look at finding an alternative that was a little less expensive. That's what led me to look around a little bit. A lot of guys out there swear by the Tamiya, what do they call theirs, surfacer primer or whatever, but man, take a look at the price on that. It's a little bitty, you know, Tamiya can, $4 or $5, whatever it is. I mean, that's just too much. One little bitty can of that wouldn't last me a day or two. Super Dash Rendar is asking about a respirator. 3M makes a nice respirator. I'll show you the one I use here. You definitely want to use a, if you're going to be getting a lot of fumes and stuff, you definitely want to use a good, you know, professional high grade respirator. I've had people comment on my YouTube videos, Boyd, you're painting and you're not using a respirator. Well, I normally do, but when I'm doing a video and I'm talking at the same time, I would kind of sound like Darth Vader if I wore this while I talked. So I'll cheat a little bit once in a while, but trust me, guys, I use this all the time. And this is the package that comes in. You can get replacement filters. This is a, you know, professional grade. This is what I used on my regular day job when I was doing a lot of painting indoors. The last several years I've been painting outdoors, so I didn't really need to use one, but yeah, definitely a must. Some of that stuff is really strong, guys, especially clear coats and things like that. So, you know, the side effects you get from painting a lot, if you don't take those precautions, they don't happen overnight, but they catch up with you over time. So you definitely want to take safety as a first line in your thinking. Jim Clark says he uses Bulldog for adhesion promoter. That's good stuff, Jim. But Bulldog leaves a little bit of a texture on it, whereas your Duplicolor and your well, they used to make the DuPont, but I haven't been using that in quite a while. It sprays on perfectly smooth, so you don't have to sand it. Yeah, and you want to, Rocket Boy brings up a good point. You'd want to use a respirator like that if you're working very much with resin at all. If you're sanding resin or grinding on it, boy, that stuff, that's some powerful stuff right there. You definitely want to have a respirator on when you're working with that. Chris says he takes a deep breath and holds it till he turns a nice nacelle blue. Okay, folks, well, I'm showing that we're quite a ways into this thing tonight. It's going on 2 hours, so we better call it a wrap here. Appreciate you being with us again this week. We'll be back next week. Apologize for starting off a little bit late this week. We took a road trip with the family today, and I was on the road and knew we weren't going to get back in time, so I put up a little message there on the board, and hopefully most of you guys caught it, that we're going to start an hour late this week, but we should start at our usual time at 6 o'clock Central Time next week. And like I said, we'll have our modeler spotlight featuring Adam Cortell. We'll have our out of the box kit review on the 153 scale L10 Electra, the Amelia Earhart's plane from the Williams brothers, and then we'll do the final segment on the interview for the Star Trek: The Motion Picture crew. And we'll have a little presentation of some behind-the-scenes stuff on that for you next week, too, and get that all wrapped up. Moving forward, guys, we're going to shorten up the show a little bit. I've been meaning to talk to you guys about that a little bit. The shows have been running pretty long. They've been running, 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and a lot of people are saying that that's a little bit too long for them, so we're going to tighten that down just a little bit. They've been running longer because of these, video presentations and everything added on. But I'm going to be shooting for trying to keep the show right around an hour or so. So we'll have everybody getting out of here at a reasonable time. It's a work day tomorrow for a lot of people, so don't want to keep them up too late. So anyways, guys, appreciate it all of you being here again. Again, thanks to everybody that sent in their pictures for that slideshow. Keep those coming, guys. Got the info@trekworks.net address, an email if you got some pictures you want to send us of your work, even if it's not finished, guys. We're always looking forward to seeing your work or works in progress or whatever you want to send. So keep those pictures coming. Until we see you next time, hope you get the chance to build something this week, and we'll be back next Sunday to have fun as we always do every week, guys. Take care. Happy modeling. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.